Your party comes into a room. I'd like to know if I can see anything. Roll perception. Why does this mechanic even exist in D&D? And how is it based on the real world? Stay tuned to find out.
Distinctions for Life, helping you get what you really want in life with small changes that make a big difference.
Welcome to Distinctions for Life, where I help you get what you really want in life with small changes that make a big difference. I'm your host, Ron Davis. If you'd like more advice, visit my website at distinctionsforlife.tv. We can look at things and not see them. We can hear things and not hear them. Have you ever gone to a store looking for something? You walk up and down every aisle and can't find it. Finally, you give in and ask someone that works at the store. They walk you right back to where you were and point at the thing that you wanted just where you were looking. You saw something, but you didn't. More accurately, your eyes registered something, but your mind didn't see it. This is because our minds delete stuff all the time. There is so much coming into our senses that we can't deal with it, so our minds filter it out. There's an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where we can see through Geordi LaForge's visor. It is a weird jumble of overlapping visual input, and the captain can't make heads or tails of it. He asks Geordi how he can see anything, and Geordi says, "In a noisy room, how can you pick out one voice?" While we don't notice it, this is happening to us all the time. It has to. These filters make things understandable and keep us from being overwhelmed. Can you imagine being in a crowded room with lots of people talking and having to hear and interpret every conversation? It would drive you nuts. You run from the room and go become a hermit. But sometimes it works against us. You see, these filters are based on our personal experiences, our culture, and what we think is even possible. Let's go back to our looking for something at the store. Have you ever had the I didn't see it experience and find out that the company had changed the box? It wasn't the color that you were used to. At that point, you realized you weren't looking for the actual thing, but some attribute of that thing. You were looking for it, expecting it to look like it did in the past. Or are you expecting it to be where it was before and they moved it? Those are examples of why we might not see something that we are looking at, but it applies to more than just the visual. Another set of examples comes from our culture. Our brain will filter out things based on what we believe they should be based on our cultural background. For instance, a few decades ago, if you walked into a room full of people in pants, you might not even notice that there were women there. Because in the mid-20th century America, women didn't wear pants. Then there is the idea that we can't perceive things we don't think are possible. If someone who has no concept that humans can fly sees a plane in the sky, it will naturally think that it is a bird. I remember a riddle that they used to use in the mid-70s when I was a boy. It goes like this. A father and son were driving in a car and they had a wreck. The father died and they rushed the injured boy to the hospital. The surgeon came in, looked at the boy and said, "I can't operate on this boy. He's my son." How could this be if the father was killed? I remember people actually guessing that there were ghosts involved. Now the obvious answer, and I don't know here in the 21st century whether it was obvious to you, but the obvious answer was that the doctor was his mother. But 50 years ago, the idea of a female surgeon was outside many people's worldview. All of this is interesting from a cultural, sociological point of view, but how can you apply it to your life? What's the distinction here? We often have filters about our own lives that literally make it impossible for us to see opportunities. For instance, you might have grown up poor and don't believe that it is possible for you to get rich, so you don't see business opportunities. If you've never encountered something before, you don't recognize it. You don't have anywhere in your mind to connect it to. Or maybe, and this is sometimes worse, you have one or two ways that something is possible, and you get so focused on them that you can't see alternatives. For instance, someone who grew up poor might think that they could become rich by being a famous musician or an athlete, but they don't see how they could be a doctor or a lawyer because they have no example of someone where they are becoming a doctor. Your worldview just filters out those paths that are impossible. This is why it is vitally important that you expand your experiences. that you associate with people who aren't like you, people with other experiences and knowledge. When you express to them your limits, they can share other possibilities and they will see your limits. Plus, if you purposefully put yourself in different experiences, you will begin to expand your own ability to see your limits. It doesn't take long or too many instances of something that you see but you didn't see before you start questioning more and more what your limits are. Question of the day: what filters are keeping you from seeing opportunities? Leave a comment below. Of course, it's hard to see our filters, but maybe you've seen this very thing happen in another person's life. Leave that story in the comments below. This concludes our D&D perception roll in the real world series. Hopefully you've gotten a new view of how your perception of the world affects you. Thanks for watching today. If you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up. This channel is all about helping you get what you really want in life with small changes that make a big difference. Until next time, I'm Ron Davis.
Scarface is recording. Let's go. Out the door. Hot
No dogs allowed. Your party comes into a room and we realize again, Ron didn't bring a dog. Welcome to